I have had any number of FBI agents who I've worked with over the years, some of them are retired, some are still in place, who have come to me and apologized for the manner in which that investigation was undertaken. This is not an easy fix. I mean, it's going to take time to rebuild the public's confidence in the institution. Rather, what is required is accountability.
Yeah, we're going to agree to disagree on a couple things there as we welcome in my friend Kyle Seraphin, brave FBI whistleblower, now host of the Kyle Seraphin Show. Kyle, it's going to take time. No, when the Federal Bureau of Investigation does the things it's done, it's going to take a lot more than time, Kyle, and it doesn't seem like anybody who's in the game seems to really get that besides you and a handful of others.
Yeah, what does it say? It's going to take a whole lot of precious spending money, too. There's some real problems there. It's a people problem. This is not an issue of policy. It can't be corrected by virtual academy training. So when they had the Crossfire Hurricane, the IG report came out, it stated all the problems and all the misuse of FISA. And so they gave everybody this PowerPoint slide, which I took a couple of PowerPoints. That was the penance that we did. If you think that fixes things, it doesn't, because people still did the thing that was wrong and they knew it was wrong when it was done. So that's the real issue. It's a personnel issue. It's a culture issue. And so when you have a failed culture like that, that's where you're going to have the real correction. And Durham actually says that in his report. It was pretty clear. He says people need to return to the original tenets that the FBI claims that they have for values: fidelity, bravery, integrity. Biggest one is integrity.
Okay, why did the people go along with it? Why did so many people do it, Kyle? Because as many problems as I have with the FBI, which I'm very, very loud about, I don't believe that most people go into the FBI, go into that field thinking they're going to be a political operative operating on behalf of Democrats. I know too many FBI agents, current and former, and none of them are like that at all. Most of the time, most of the guys are either former cops or former military. They want to fight bad guys. They want to do good things. And all of a sudden it comes out that it's the NKVD. How does that happen?
I think you actually covered this the first time you and I talked. There's a sort of a historical lesson that we can look back from the Nazis and what happened with Reserve Police Battalion 101. And everybody thinks that they're going to be Oscar Schindler, but there was one Oscar Schindler, and there were an awful lot of people that were just, quote unquote, doing their jobs, quote unquote, following orders. And that's how you end up in this scenario. Like, the paycheck is pretty good. The job is, generally speaking, pretty good most of the time. And if somebody is asking you to do something like, hey, open this case because you need to, or, file this particular statistical accomplishment because the boss needs it for their bonus, and that's going to benefit you, then a lot of people will do that, even if it doesn't turn out to be the biggest push. And when you do a lot of small, sort of immoral or unethical or potentially illegal actions, and they're just minor illegalities, we're just barely infringing on these liberties, you take up a lot of ground. And so the FBI has got a bunch of people that have said yes for far too long. And that doesn't mean that they're bad people. It means that they are in this cycle. We call it the golden handcuffs. It means that you're just trying to ride it out. And like you say, a lot of people get to the back end of that 20-year career. Once you're over the 10-year hump, I mean, you've committed over a decade of your life. You can start over somewhere else. My buddy Steve Friend and I looked at our resumes right when we came out, and we realized we weren't going to go back to work for the Bureau. And it's like, man, I'm really well qualified to be an FBI agent. I don't know what the heck else I'm going to do with my life, because that's kind of what my resume looks like.
I love you and Steve. All right, Kyle, congratulations. I just made you the imaginary head of the FBI tomorrow. What reforms would you do? What reforms can you do? Just because you're the head, I'm assuming, doesn't mean you're the all-powerful dictator. Would you just be kneecapped by the other upper management underneath you?
Yeah, so the culture is rotted. And the problem is all the people, let's say you remove the top two layers of management, you take out the executive assistant directors, you get rid of all the ADs, the assistant directors, and now you're left with everybody that's a special agent in charge. They all came up in this system. They were all incentivized the same way in this system. And what I learned during the sort of COVID tyranny, which the Bureau was big on, in fact, I just had all those wounds reopened when I started rereading some of the emails. The tyranny looks like this. It's like a guy who has a mortgage, he's got alimony, he's got to worry about his pension in the next 2 years that he's going to cash out and retire on. And so he knows what's going on is wrong and realizes that his honor is worth $150,000 or $175,000, let's say, a year for a couple more years just to wait it out. And then they want to come out and be statesmen after they get that retirement check. They want to come out and tell you all the wrongs they can do and how the FBI is still noble because they're still tied to it. So we've got to uproot the entire management culture. And unfortunately, that means all the way down to the frontline supervisors. So for me, everybody would be re-interviewing for their job. If you're a GS-13, the frontline, brick agents, as we call them, we'd have to basically have you reevaluated and say, hey, are you committed to the Constitution, or did you think you were swearing allegiance to the FBI? Because we got a problem with that. And then we move on to the managers. Did you know something was wrong? If so, you can no longer be a manager ever again, but maybe you can stay in this organization. And everybody above that, everybody in the GS-15 level and all the senior executive service, they've all got to go. And nobody's going to find that very easy to deal with, but they can home enroll these guys and start zeroing out individual either positions or individual names and their salaries and their pensions, hopefully.
You want to watch our special on George Washington? It's freaking awesome. Well, you can. All you have to do is become a First TV supporter. That gives you access to all of our specials on demand, and it's cake. All you have to go to is thefirsttv.com/support. Thefirsttv.com/support. Become a supporter. Enjoy learning about George Washington.